Have you ever wondered what if everything we see, believe, and chase in life is just a shadow? What if we're not really awake, but merely living in a dream we call reality? And more hauntingly, what if the truth has always been behind us, yet we've never turned around to face it? More than 2,000 years ago, a philosopher named Plato asked this exact question. And he didn't just ask it. He illustrated it with one of the most powerful images in all of philosophy, the allegory of the cave. This story is not just a metaphor. It's a mirror that forces us to question everything we think we know about knowledge, perception, society, and even ourselves. So today, I invite you to step into the cave, to see what Plato saw, to feel what it means to live in illusion, to understand why so many choose to stay in the dark, and why so few dare to walk toward the light. In Book 7 of the Republic, Plato describes a scene that begins in darkness. Imagine, he says, a group of people who have lived all their lives chained inside a cave. They're bound in such a way that they cannot move their heads. They can only look forward, toward the wall of the cave. Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners is a raised walkway. Along this walkway, other people walk back and forth, carrying objects and statues of animals, trees, and people. These objects cast shadows on the wall in front of the prisoners. Since these prisoners have never seen anything else, they believe these shadows are real. They give them names. They interpret them. They discuss them. And to them, the shadows are the world. Now imagine that one prisoner is freed. He turns around and sees the fire for the first time. His eyes hurt. He's confused. The shadows no longer make sense. And as he stumbles out of the cave into the daylight, his whole reality collapses. But over time, his eyes adjust. He sees real objects. He sees people. Eventually, he sees the sun. And for the first time, he understands the true source of light, of life, and of clarity. Plato's cave is not just a story. It's a diagnosis, a reflection of how most people live, not just in ancient Athens, but in every society, including ours. The shadows on the wall? That's our media, our assumptions, our inherited beliefs, our social conditioning. The cave? That's the safe space we build with routine, comfort, and unquestioned norms. The chains? That's our fear, our ego, our unwillingness to challenge what we think we know. We live in an age flooded with information. But how much of it is truth? And how much is just shadows, carefully cast by those who want to shape our view of the world? Plato warns us. Seeing is not knowing. Just because something appears real doesn't mean it is. Just because everyone believes something doesn't mean it's true. True wisdom begins when we start questioning. When we begin to turn our heads. When we dare to ask, what lies behind the image? What's the source? What's the intention? Plato didn't paint the journey out of the cave as easy. In fact, it's painful. The eyes hurt when exposed to new light. The mind resists when old beliefs are challenged. The ego clings to the familiar, even if it's false. Why? Because awakening demands effort. Because truth requires courage. Because leaving the cave means leaving behind comfort, certainty, and social approval. Have you ever had a moment where something you deeply believed turned out to be false? The betrayal of a friend. The failure of a system you trusted. The realization that your goals were driven by insecurity, not purpose. Those moments hurt, but in that pain is growth. In that shattering is clarity. Plato shows us that the road to truth begins with discomfort. But without that discomfort, we remain prisoners of illusion. And perhaps even worse, we remain content with it. Plato adds one final twist to his story. After the prisoner escapes and sees the real world, he returns to the cave. He wants to help the others see what he has seen. But instead of being welcomed, he is ridiculed. They laugh at him. They say his eyes are ruined. They fear him. And if they could, Plato says, they would kill him. Why? Because truth threatens the systems built on shadows. Because real freedom feels like chaos to those who've only known chains. Because many people don't want to be awakened. They want to be comfortable. And this, perhaps, is the most powerful part of Plato's allegory. It's not just about waking up. It's about what happens after you wake up. Will you go back? Will you speak? Will you risk rejection? Because truth is not just about clarity. It's about responsibility. So what does it mean? Today, to leave the cave? It means to question what you're told, even if everyone else agrees. It means to examine the beliefs you inherited, even the ones that feel sacred. It means to trace the shadow back to its source. To ask, who benefits from this belief? Why do I think success looks like this? Where did I learn to fear failure or crave approval? To leave the cave is not just intellectual. It's existential. It's not just about doubting others. It's about examining yourself, your habits, your values, your motivations. And sometimes, the deepest illusions aren't in the world outside. They live inside our minds. In the narratives we carry about ourselves. I'm not enough. I'll be happy when. I must prove my worth. I have to be perfect. These are shadows too. Shadows that distort our sense of who we are and what we deserve. Shadows that keep us trapped, even when no chains are visible. Plato's cave had walls and firelight. Ours has screens, notifications, and algorithms. Instead of statues casting shadows, we have reels, trends, and filtered realities. We scroll, we consume, we react, but how often do we pause to reflect? How much of what we know is actually experienced, and how much is absorbed passively? The modern world offers us infinite entertainment, instant information, and constant connection, but in return, it demands our attention, our beliefs, and, slowly, our clarity. And so, stepping into the light today means choosing stillness over stimulation, depth over distraction, and truth over convenience. It means being willing to sit with hard questions without rushing to the next dopamine hit. It means choosing to read a book rather than scroll endlessly, to journal instead of vent, to listen instead of perform. This is not easy, but it is essential, because in the age of information overload, wisdom is not having more answers. It's learning to ask better questions. Plato's allegory is not a one-time awakening. It's a lifelong discipline. Seeing the truth once is not enough. You must practice seeing every day. And this begins in the ordinary. When you feel envy, pause. What is the shadow behind it? When you judge someone, pause. What truth about yourself are you avoiding? When you crave something, pause. Is it a need or a distraction from discomfort? This practice doesn't make you superior. It makes you honest. It makes you free, not from difficulty, but from delusion. And as you walk this path, you'll notice something beautiful. You begin to see more clearly, not just the flaws in the world, but the light within it. You start to notice beauty in simplicity, joy in small things, meaning in presence, and freedom, not in doing whatever you want, but in choosing what is true. Plato was not trying to convert anyone. He was extending an invitation to think, to feel, to wake up, and that's what this podcast is too. Not a lesson, but a mirror, not a doctrine, but a door, because no one can walk out of your cave for you. No one can force you to turn your head. But if you've listened this far, maybe a part of you already has. Maybe you've started to sense that there's more than what you've been taught, more than what's on the wall, more than the flickers of comfort, success, or status. And if that's true, then you're already on the path, not the easy one, but the real one. To live beyond the cave is not a destination. It is a commitment. A conscious choice, repeated daily, to live with eyes wide open, to move through the world not just reacting, but reflecting, not just consuming, but contemplating, not just surviving, but seeking truth. Plato's allegory doesn't end when the prisoner sees the sun. It continues in how he lives after. Once we've glimpsed the real world, the question becomes, what now? In many ways, it's harder to live outside the cave than inside it. Inside, things are simple, shadows are predictable, meaning is handed to you. You're told what matters, who you should be, what you should chase. But outside, meaning must be made. Choices carry weight. There's no one to blame, and no illusion to hide behind. That's where freedom begins, and where responsibility deepens. To live in truth is not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about asking, am I acting from clarity or confusion? From fear or from truth? From habit or from awareness? Every interaction becomes a chance to notice your patterns. Every conflict becomes an opportunity to reflect. Every ambition becomes a moment to ask, is this really mine? Some days, you will forget. You'll fall back into the cave. You'll mistake shadows for substance. You'll chase validation, You'll avoid discomfort, but that's part of the journey too. Awakening is not linear. It's not a straight line upward. It spirals. It loops. It tests. But each time you return with deeper insight, with softer eyes, with stronger integrity. Outside the cave, life becomes more honest. Joy is quieter, but deeper. Success is redefined, not by what others see, but by what aligns within. Relationships shift. You begin to seek truth in others too. Not performance, not perfection, but authenticity. And when you meet someone walking the same path, there's a silent recognition. You both have seen the sun. You both have known the shadows. And you both have chosen to live awake. Living beyond the cave also means accepting that not everyone wants to leave it. You will share insights that are met with resistance. You will see friends cling to illusions. You will feel alone at times. But solitude is not a sign of error. It is the space where your truth matures, where your voice strengthens, where your clarity stabilizes, and slowly, your presence becomes a quiet invitation for others, not a lecture, not a demand, but a living example that a different life is possible. And perhaps the most powerful thing is this: the cave was never locked. The chains were never real. The exit was always open. We were never truly trapped. We were just never taught to look back, to ask questions, to walk toward the light. But now you know, and with knowing comes choice. So choose. Choose to pause, to question, to listen, to notice, to speak truth, even when it trembles, to walk alone, when needed, to stay curious, even in confusion, because each choice deepens your freedom. Each step reshapes your reality. And over time, the cave fades, the shadows blur, and what remains is clarity. Quiet, still, strong. Thank you for listening. If this journey stirred something in you, don't rush to fix it. Let it sit. Let it grow. Ask your own questions. Trace your own shadows. And when you're ready, take one small step toward the light. Because the truth has always been waiting. Not out there, but within. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to stay with us at Life Philosophy Channel. This is where we ask the questions others forget, and walk together in search of meaning. Until next time, stay awake, stay honest, and keep walking toward the real.